Welcome. This is Ashley's Heart Song. This is the place where we get out of the stress and back into our body, our life, and our business. When we tap into the song of our heart, that is when we master the mind and we get rid of the stress. We release it. We let it go. And oh my goodness, have I got a treat for y'all today. We have with us a beautiful woman that has had a courageous journey, and I will be introducing her in just a moment. But let's start off with our vitality score. Y'all, the vitality score helps us determine what area of ourselves that we need to work on so that we can live a more inspired life. So are you ready? Get out your pad and your pencil. Let's write them down. Let's go through the mental health of you today. Mentally, where do you feel on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being, oh my gosh, your mind has been in the gutter. Or a 10 where you feel like, wow, I've got clarity of thinking, I'm on point, you feel positive. Where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? And then let's go to the emotional health. Where are you today? A 1 would be you're moody, grumpy, you're in the dumps feeling, that muckiness within your very being. Or are you a 10 where you feel emotionally balanced? You feel joyful, happy, just really feel good in your body. All right. So emotions have a whole lot to do with what we feel in our body. But now write that score down. Now we're going to go to the physical body. Physically, how are you today in your body? Is your body moving like you want it to? Or is it really stiff and achy? That stiff and achy would be a 1. With no energy, or with plenty of energy to get you through your day. Your body feels mobile, flexible. You feel digestively, you're empowered. And that means in both food and also with your experiences in life. So where are you on that scale of 1 to 10 with physical body? Write that one down. And now with our spiritually, are you connected? Do you feel aligned? Inspired? Are you inspired today? That is probably a good one. If you're motivated, that's different. Motivation is in the earthly arena. Inspiration is in the spiritual arena. And so are you inspired today? That would be a 10. If you feel more motivated, then you're going to be on the inspiration scale. You'll probably be more in the 1 to 5. All right. Add up your score. High score is 40. If you are anything below a 20, please, please, please look at those areas of your life where you need some attention, where you need to place attention. Because remember, this journey is about you. And when you clean yourself up, guess what's going to happen to your external world? It's going to elevate, and it is going to feel like your life is just going your way. What happened? What transpired? Well, you transformed, and that's what makes that happen in your external world. So thank you everyone who is joining us today with the live audience. So love that you are here. Let's just take a breath. And I am going to give you a quote that is Cindy, when she sent me her information to interview her today, she had this quote on one of the stories of her pages, and it is, life isn't about getting or having. It's about giving and being. And that is by Kevin Cruz. What a beautiful quote, beautiful quote. So that sets us off for our beautiful conversation that we're going to have with Cindy. And let me just introduce her real quick before I let her roll in and speaking with you. Cindy is a self-expansion coach, which I really want to get more into that. She's a licensed special education teacher, 2020 Amazon bestselling co-author, and former National Board Certified Exceptional Needs Specialist. She has more than 35 years combined experience as an exceptional needs specialist, a teacher mentor, and a professional development consultant. She has provided in-person services and resources to educators, parents, and retired service providers in a myriad of settings. Cindy began her transition to online coaching and consulting in 2020. No, excuse me, it's 2018, where she continues to provide guidance and structured social emotional learning frameworks that help high achieving, resourceful adults address daily stressors with an approach that is manageable and sustainable. Oh my goodness, this is going to be a joy. Her mission is to reduce, I love this so much, y'all. Listen, her mission is to reduce the massive exhaustion epidemic that is realistic and in realistic and practical ways to prevent and recover from, for people, excuse me, to prevent and recover from personal or career burnout. Y'all, this is going to be a fun conversation. Cindy, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. I am blessed to be here. And for everyone who's joining us live, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. So Cindy, I just want to start us off with a bang. What you have in your bio is just truly impressive. And I am so interested in the self-expansion. But what I really want the audience to understand is where you came from, what your experience was, and what led you to this, because you had quite a journey.
Yes, as do most of us. We have a journey. For myself, though, all those things that you read, those are the people that I'm trying to help support and expand, because I was kind of following the leader and was driven to get and have and be what our society says we need to be. And specifically in my field as an educator, there's lots of expectations of what we need to be. And as a child, I have always been that way. I've always been kind of like a people pleaser, you know, wanting to do what other people want. And I think many of us can say that there is a time in your life when the real world meets the world that you thought was real, in the way you were raised and the way you think about things and the way you look at things. And I found out personally for myself that world was full of rejection. That's kind of where I came from, sort of like the ins and outs of rejection. And I know there's an author that has written a book on that I read a long time ago and forgot to, haven't looked it up lately, but you know, when we experience these kind of things, for myself and many people that I've worked with, we really are not prepared for the, we're not prepared for what to do, because you're so used to doing things everyone else's way. And when you get to the point where you need to take over and you need renewal and you need to face these challenges that you're having, if you don't have those inner tools, your own tools, then you're going to struggle. And that's kind of where I came from with my story.
Yeah, and you had quite a few hiccups along the way that brought this home to you more and more. You know, have found in my own journey that when there is something for me to learn, I'm just going to things are going to keep coming in until I learn that, until I master it, until I get the hint that things are not as what they appear physically in our physical world, that there is something internally going on that we can rise up and then completely change and transform what's happening in our external world. Yeah, so would you like to go over any of that? Because that's from your...
Yeah, I'd be happy to share some of that. I've had, just like many people, a lot of things going on in my life. And I think because of my mindset back then, and because of the, I guess some of my personality tendencies, I really struggled a lot. And I got to the point where, in order to be able to cope with all the demands of life and all of the demands I put on myself, I got to a point where I was using a lot of medication, not necessarily, abusing medication. No, I was using it properly. Um, but as a result, I got um, like migraines, massive migraines. And I've had over the last probably 10 or 15 years, 2 episodes with major migraines like every single day. And then also other opportunities, other things in life where you um, end up overcompensating, whether it be with food or whether it be with purchasing stuff, where those kind of comfort type things come in. And I'll tell you what, by the time I was in my 50s, I know some people wake up earlier than that, but it wasn't until probably in my 50s that I knew something had to change because I was just a wreck. And on the surface, I thought, yeah, I'm going to do all this. And I'm reaching out for tools to do all this, reaching out. And then I wondered, now that I've kind of gotten more insight on that, you can't reach out to get those things that you need to move you forward on a personal level. And so that's why I believe I was stuck for a long time and kind of desperate in my life. And then, like you mentioned, things keep piling on, I think, um, giving you a reminder that something's not quite right. And my dad passed away with a brain tumor, and it was totally unexpected. It was in 2018, and he was kind of our rock. And I was very close to my dad. And that was, I think, the catalyst that really broke me was when my dad, I could handle the migraines. I could handle the 60, 70-hour a week workload, I thought. But my dad passing, that was something that just was very difficult for me to handle. I was not real good with the grief and things. And then during that same time, my husband had what we thought was a full-blown stroke, but it was some more health issues coming on. It ended up being a TIA, and there was just a lot going on. And so for myself, it was a matter of being open to a holistic approach to life, not modern medicine where you can take a pill and get better real quick. It doesn't work that way. There are side effects to that. And so I just started down this journey of looking for natural solutions, a natural routine, some therapeutic options, some holistic options. And as I first started with that, it's difficult. For me, it was anyway. That type of change was difficult because I was so used to trying to get a quick fix so I could keep going full speed ahead. And over time, though, I am still, honestly, from that time when things just really fell apart completely, I'm still putting the pieces together. I'm still building that routine. I'm still finding the courage to try new things and to share and learn and grow from others, but from within.
Mhm. Yes, that is so beautiful. And don't you, the whole time you were speaking around things that were happening and they just kind of kept coming in and you were working 60, 70-hour work weeks, it's like, I think you were being told to slow down. You're being told, come on, enjoy life for a second. Get out of that space of work, 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 work. And I think that's where a lot of us find ourselves, is working those hours upon hours, especially if we're self-employed. Oh, after dinner, I'll just get on the computer for a couple hours and create a new program or do my social media, and we find that we're working more than we're not. And in that creates that imbalance where we are more susceptible to dis-ease that floats around and that toxic negative mindset that can come in. So I love that was such a great representation for me from my world, from the eating psychology perspective of, well, that was a sign to slow. And that is the first mind-body nutrition technique that we teach, is you first got to slow down. You got to look at your life and and edge things out and see how you can, become more balanced within, so
Right.
that
And don't you think that that's probably the crux of this massive exhaustion epidemic that we have in our society?
I cannot.
And it's trying to find the answers everywhere else and grasping for things rather than using realistic, practical ways to support yourself from the inside out. And I know that self-care is a big, thing these days. But it's true. It's 100% true. And it's all about protecting your self-image.
Mm.
Our self-image comes from a lot of things. It's an idea about who we are, what's expected of us, what we expect of ourselves, what other people expect, what our family expects. And it, things can get askew, and they often do for many of us. And then we end up being in a lifestyle that is just not manageable or sustainable, but not having enough energy and bandwidth and I think insight to know how to move forward. And that's kind of what my passion is, my mission is to say, is to help people slow down so you can take time for those things that you need so that you can be more realistic and practical and quit following the leader. That's what got me where I was, following the leader. And I need to learn to make my well-being the leader.
Oh, that's beautiful. Make your well-being the leader. And inside of all of that, in order for that to happen, is that approach of taking responsibility that you speak of in your action part of your self-image. Do you want to go into that? I just love that so much, the idea versus the action.
Yes. And the thing is, the idea of our self-image is not only like the personal view or a mental picture of who we are and what we have in ourselves. It's actually a product of learning, of things that we've observed and we've been taught and we've read, and that we've just kind of fallen into. So it's really self-image as an idea. It's not really it's not really it's just a thought. Really, it's not us. And I like to help people distinguish between that thought or that idea or how we see ourselves into action, which is the acceptance part. So if we focus more on self-acceptance rather than self-image, and the mental picture we want to put out there, or the physical picture we want to put out there, and start taking responsibility for our own happiness by accepting all facets of ourselves, not just seeking and thriving and being driven to show everyone that everything's perfect and you've got it all together. It's being able to accept all facets of yourself, the positive, the negative, and the neutral.
Yeah, and that's challenging for a
Mm.
lot of us, right? To know that, to accept that negative part of us, or that part that we're unsure of, where our lack of confidence is held. Yeah, and so having that guidance to self-accept, no matter how I
Mhm.
show up that day, just accept it and love on it. Are you familiar with the Ho'oponopono
Oh,
prayer?
absolutely.
I love
Yes.
that because it's all about taking that personal responsibility. Because when we do that within ourselves, then it helps transform the external world. And I think that is so beautiful, that personal responsibility that speaks to that prayer.
Yeah.
And for anybody who doesn't know, that's the prayer of "I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you." And it is a lot deeper than that. There's so much that goes into it. But I just wanted to kind of bring it to the table when you were speaking about self-acceptance, because it really does kind of fall into that, taking that personal responsibility for how you are in that moment and what that
Well,
creating.
yes, and I've actually been doing a monthly shared journaling session every single month since December 2020, using that framework, the Ho'oponopono framework. And
Mm.
we do it once a month in my Facebook community, and it's been amazing, the insights and things when you using that framework as a journaling opportunity. So it's cool that you brought it up, because that is something I'm very familiar with, and actually I've taken a couple of courses to be certified using that technique. Oh yeah, that's where some of my stuff comes from, is what I've learned um,
Mhm.
about that process.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. And you mentioned a Facebook group where you're doing this. Can you give that Facebook group out to everybody right now so that they know how to, if they want to get in on this journaling or anything like that?
Sure, yeah, I'll put it in here. I actually forgot to put that one in. I've got something else too that I'm sharing with the people that are here joining and listening, and that'll be on there too. But let me give you put my Facebook group in there. It's called Essentials for Peace and Balance.
Mm.
And it's for personal and professional expansion. So that's what it's about. And I'll put it right there in the chat.
Love it. Thank you. And those of you, so in the chat box is a link to reach out to Cindy to find out about more about what this is that she's speaking to. But also, if you're watching the replay, we will post this group link in with the replay message so that you will also have access to this group if you would like. Yeah. So, Cindy, let's continue our conversation. You have so much more to share. And I know that one of the things that you were wanting to speak about was the subjectivity, inflexibility, and neutrality. Can we kind of go into that and just that kind of has my little ears perked for wondering where that's going?
Right. And it's kind of a framework. And it really, like you said before, there's a whole lot to Ho'oponopono. Well, there's a whole lot to your self-image and self-acceptance, but I've tried to break it down in just a few categories. And one of them is subjectivity. When you think about your self-image, you are critical. You're very, very subjective. Oftentimes, we are as human beings. That's just the way we're made. That's the way we've been raised, to be critical. And, you've got to constantly do more and stop making these mistakes again, and, all that. And so in the subjective part of our self-image versus that self-acceptance part, there are the critical scripts that we hear all the time, either from people around us or from within, about our feelings, about our opinions, about maybe some actions that we didn't take, or maybe some action we did take and it didn't turn out the way it was supposed to. And it can end up paralyzing us. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. Oops, that's what I can
There
you
you
hear
go.
me?
I can now.
That's what I talk about when I'm mentioning subjectivity. So does that make sense, being subjective when you
Yeah.
think about your self-image? All
Mhm.
right. And then there's other things about being subjective as well that I like to share with people. When you think about these scripts, these lack scripts or the inability scripts, especially when you lack the confidence, or you lack the courage, or you feel like you're having a hard time meeting your health goals, and you think, I just can't do it. Someone who's subjective and focusing more on their self-image versus that self-acceptance means that their motivation is just dying, and they're kind of giving up their hope, and they want to quit. That's a sign that you're being more subjective with yourself and you're focusing more on your self-image than you are your self-acceptance.
Mm.
Make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful framework.
Yes, yes. And then, then when you're being very subjective about this, then you kind of get, inflexible, and you set boundaries for yourself that are intended to protect you. But oftentimes they are so rigid that they're not helpful. So that's why I talk about that inflexibility. Um, Being able to set boundaries that are manageable and sustainable, not stifling.
Mm.
And then that's kind of about really too being able to break your own rules without feeling guilty and without leading to more self-criticism. Just being open to change and other ways of doing things. And maybe for myself, being open to maybe some spiritual routines and things that were frowned upon when I was a kid. But yet I am able to open myself up to that now because I'm starting to think for myself rather than, thinking about what other people have told me is the truth. So, that's kind of where I go with that one. And one more thing I think I'd like to bring up are these certain things about making predictions. So we make predictions for ourselves. We see ourselves as incompetent and incapable.
Mm.
Often that's where we start, and that's why we start seeking for things. We seek something more authentic as we get older, I think. It took me into my mid-50s to realize that I wasn't living my authentic self. I wasn't being my authentic self. I just had all these predictions, all these dreams that I thought were mine. And in reality, they weren't. And all that pressure built up, thus the migraines and the overeating and the things that I dealt with for a number of years.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it's kind of deep. And so then I think, well, you know what? With all of that negativity and stuff about our self-image, we need to have some safe strategies. So accept that your self-image is an idea that's learned, that it's not permanent, and that it's dynamic and it can change. And that's how we can become more courageous and cultivate resilience for the long haul. And that's where the neutrality comes in. So being neutral, not necessarily forcing yourself to be positive all the time. That's not even realistic, but just being neutral. And being neutral is really, in my opinion, it's not about eliminating or ignoring these negative thoughts, negative situations you get in, negative habits you may have. Being neutral doesn't mean you're going to ignore that. It means that you're just going to learn how to navigate it more safely, especially when the water gets murky. Learning how to navigate the good, the bad, and the neutral when things get rough. And it's all boiled down to me, simplicity. Simplicity. Slow down. Get some frameworks. Slow down. Become more simple. And then the acceptance comes.
Wow. I love the neutrality concept. When I was in the throes of anxiety and I was seeing a body talk practitioner to help, get my body back to homeostasis. Something that she taught me that I love. And as you're speaking about neutrality, I'm like, that was a neutrality statement, I think. But it was actually next time something happens, instead of being quick to judge that it's scary, why don't you just say, oh, that's interesting, and just leave it at that. That's interesting. And then you've left the judging, you've left being criticized about it or criticizing of it. You've left all of that in the back. And now you're just, oh, that's interesting. And that freed me so much. I cannot even tell you. And anyone who is in my class knows that to this day, I use that word. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I use it all the time. And it helps you stay out of that. It helps you stay in neutral territory versus going to either side. You're just like, okay, I'm going to be open to seeing what this can bring.
Right. And it is like um, not making a decision at the time.
Mhm.
It's not right. It's not wrong. It's just neutral. And it really is a way to protect your self image when you're feeling under attack. It's an opportunity for you to allow and manage those emotions, to minimize some of those negative behaviors or habits that we tend to get in when we're feeling stressed. And then, it opens a space where we're not afraid to take action. So our mind kind of becomes more free to perform better. And
Mhm.
so I'm a big person on that neutrality
Yeah.
piece.
Yes. So do you have a neutral? I'm going to put you on the spot here. This isn't something we spoke about, but this conversation leads me to ask this. So, like where I was given that statement of, that's interesting. Do you have something that you give people that when they're in the middle of a conversation with someone and that person has just hit their hot buttons and they need to stay neutral? Is there something that you give them or an instruction you give them in order to stay neutral?
Well, as a saying, so to speak, mine is step aside. And many years ago, I went to some counseling therapy sessions, and that was one of the biggest takeaways that I know. I mean, it's been 30 years ago, and I'm still telling myself, step aside. Whether you're speaking with someone who's pushing your buttons, or a situation is triggering you, or anything you can think of that's even food that's enticing you, that shouldn't be, just step aside, mentally, physically, spiritually. Step aside and know that your brain thrives on repetition, and you need to step aside and break that chain.
Mm,
So
beautiful.
break that chain of responding quickly, of just grabbing that and saying, I'll try again tomorrow. It's just really, that's my saying anyway. Step aside.
I love that, Cindy.
Mhm.
That is great. That's a great visual too. You know,
Yeah.
brain will
Yes.
come.
And one of the things that she gave me as far as a visual to think of is, they've got the bow and arrow and it's aimed at you. So
Mhm.
either that food's got the bow and arrow, that person that's triggering you, whoever, you want to step aside so that arrow doesn't hit you, so that it just goes down and hits the ground. Because
Ah,
it's really not meant for you anyway.
right, right. Wow. That's very good. That's
Yeah.
very good. Nice. Ah, how lovely. So, Cindy, is there anything else you'd like to leave the audience with before we break out into our live audience Q&As? Anything you'd like to leave anyone with?
Well, yes, I would. I would like for us to end with the idea versus action, like we talked about in the very beginning, and how to protect your self-image. 3 ways. Know that your mind works on repetition, good, bad, or neutral. So we want to take action so that we can break the cycle if it's focused in an area that's not productive for us. And then just as far as a self-expansion coach, knowing that self-expansion is the art of taking action. There's nothing magic about it. It's the art of taking action. So, positive change starts with that very first step, taking action. And then the art, or being able to capture that essence that you're trying to reinvent, starts with you and
Mm,
starts on the inside.
beautiful. Oh, Cindy, what a pleasure. What a pleasure it has been. And you and I could probably have a really long, 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 long conversation someday. I think our hearts are in the same direction, the same pathway. I love it so much. Love this so much. Thank you for being with us. And thank you for sharing your, not only your knowledge, but also access to the tools that you have through you. So thank you for sharing all of that. Y'all, this has been Ashley's Heart Song, and we are so happy that you are here on this sacred metabolizer journey that we are on. And Cindy just helped us see courage in a totally different light, in a new light, and with more tools to help us when we were on our own courageous journey. So thank you so much, Cindy, for being with us. Y'all, I will see you next Monday at 3 p.m. Central Time, right here. If you're with the live audience, please stick around and we will resume shortly. See y'all next time.